morning, everyone. This is Melissa Bond, the SEDEC Arts Extension Program Leader.
And I'm Sky Marietta. I am an arts associate and I'm over the region of Eastern Kentucky.
We really appreciate you all logging on this morning to learn about the role of arts in cooperative extension. And so we'll go ahead and get started. We just want to cover a little bit about what we'll talk about this morning and share with you all. First, we're going to talk about where we've been in Kentucky. This program started in 2005, so we want to do a little overview of where we've been in the past and how we've gotten to where we are now and how we're looking at regional approaches to the arts as well. And then what we see next and how we could encourage other states to incorporate some principles for arts extension into their community development work. So first of all, where we've been is we've started with county-based arts extension agents in some pilot counties in the state of Kentucky. So a lot of times the biggest question we get is, how does arts fit into the College of Agriculture? I can't tell you how many times when I was an arts agent, I got questions from other people saying, arts in the College of Ag? What do? You teach cows how to paint? And I say, you know, we don't teach cows how to paint, but we can give you the resources you need to learn how to paint a cow. So we started in 2005 as a collaboration between the College of Fine Arts and the College of Ag on UK's campus. The dean of the College of Fine Arts was in a community with one of their arts outreach programs, and he was just really blown away by how many local community people came out to experience this arts programming that the College of Fine Arts had traveled to a rural community. So he started thinking, well, what if we could have extension agents in the arts that do arts-based community development, and what if we focus that? So he set up a meeting with the director of extension in Kentucky, and they came up with this idea to really look at how we could do that and engage counties at the county level and do some focused arts extension work. Currently, Kentucky is the only state with county-level arts agents based in a local county. There are several other states who have arts extension specialists or arts extension faculty, usually through their College of Fine Arts that do extension work, but we're currently the state that has the county-level arts agents. So we really enjoy meeting other states who have arts programming and comparing and contrasting our models. Since 2005, we've grown to having 3 county-level arts agents, 3 program assistants, a program leader, and 1 regional associate. So what do? We support and develop performing, visual, and literary arts for all ages and income levels under the guidance of our grassroots local arts extension councils in each community. We really pride ourselves in gathering the information from the local community on what they identify as their arts and community development needs. And then we create responsive programming to that. So it's been a really exciting time of working with the community in arts engagement and seeing what major social issues they may have that they want to address through the arts, or what type of arts programming they want to provide their community. And then we coordinate and facilitate that. Our key strategic initiatives are civic engagement and community relevance, arts engagement and artistic excellence, and then enhancing the creative economy and really helping communities and at the state level understand the way the creative economy can contribute to the economy in the state of Kentucky. We collaborate a lot with our other program areas with Ag, FCS, 4-H, and horticulture. And we also work a lot with our downtown development and revitalization efforts. We work with Main Street managers, city leaders, and community partners. And then we also have great partners at the state level through the Kentucky Arts Council and the Kentucky Humanities Council. And by focusing on these local, regional, and state level collaborators, it's really helped us enhance our program and provide quality opportunities for communities in the arts. I want to give you some examples of the way we tie in with other program areas, because a lot of times people are, typically think, well, I could see how working with A&R horticulture would be the hardest way to cooperate with arts. So how do you come up with opportunities in that? One of the easiest ways we do it is our farmers markets. We have some really vibrant farmers markets across the state of Kentucky. A little background for me, in Whitley County, where I was an arts agent, the county voted to have an arts agent position that focused a percentage of time specifically on the farmers market, because it was really growing and becoming this community hub in a rural area where local foods access was needed, as well as a sense of place and a quality location to go on a weekly basis to socialize and experience activities. So a large portion of my time was spent developing arts initiatives through the farmers market, and also training the artisan vendors and the produce vendors on things like marketing and booth design, how to set up an attractive booth, how to set your prices, how to create your logos, and some social media training for the farmers to learn how to publicize themselves online, and possibly even e-commerce opportunities where they could sell their products directly through the internet. And then incorporating the arts events to increase traffic in a market. Anytime you have an arts event, our very first arts event was a local theater camp, did a performance at our farmers market. And it was the biggest attendance at our market we had had to date, because anytime you showcase any kind of artwork from a youth, you have grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles, everybody coming out to see that. And when they came out, they started shopping at the market. They realized it's a place they wanted to spend their time. And so we continue growing from there and learning how to create quality arts experiences at our markets. For family and consumer sciences, we partner frequently with nutrition education. A couple of our feature programs are, for example, the Play with Your Food program, where we worked with youth on teaching them about healthy vegetables that grow in the state of Kentucky, as well as ones that didn't, and the difference between the two and where they get their produce. We had some farmers come and present to the youth on the products they grow and answer questions. Then we tied in an entomology angle where we looked at different beneficial insects under a microscope. So the kids got to learn what's a beneficial bug to help your produce grow. And then we had the kids build their own insects using toothpicks and different cut vegetables that are products they learned about. But the rule was whatever vegetable they used to build their insect, they had to eat it. And through that, we had 39 out of 41 children report that they tried a new vegetable that day by participating in that program. So it's a way just to add that arts component of building with their hands and being creative with their product, and then also encouraging nutrition. Another program we do is called Breakfast with the Arts, where there was a problem with schools having diminished breakfast attendance. So our arts agent in Greenup County, Ann Stevens, created a program where she partnered with the local school system's nutrition department and their food services on teaching youth how to create a quality performance, such as playing the guitar or singing a song or acting out a scene, anything in the performing arts. And she would work with the youth over a month on high quality performances. She also worked with the students on how to be a good audience member, and they performed during breakfast once a month in this program. And the school reported that by having this program happen, breakfast attendance increased significantly on those days. So it turned out to more funding for the school, as well as more students having access to a nutritious breakfast. Each year, 389 youth perform in that program. When we partner with 4-H Youth Development, this is a really easy partnership as well, because on a national level, 4-H has incorporated the visual and performing arts into their initiatives. And we like to partner with the agents. I can't tell you how many agents I've had who say, well, you know, my background is livestock and I'm really focused on livestock, and I'm having these kids come and ask to have arts classes and I don't even know where to begin. So we try to work with them on how you can incorporate arts opportunities for those students and finding those local artists to create those opportunities. But we also will work, we focus heavily on the community development side for the youth. How can we use the arts to encourage the youth to become active citizens in their community and active voices, maybe in their downtown revitalization efforts or their community goals, because a lot of communities have reported an issue with out-migration of the youth. And they are realizing that if you want to create a place that youth want to come back home to and build their lives, maybe we should ask the youth what they want to see in order to have their family there. So we do things like personality self-mapping, using these chalk pastel exercises and leading them through a series of prompts for them to look at where they are now in their community and where they would like to see it become maybe in 5 years or 10 years, and then what they can do to get there. And we also lead them in community discussions through the arts on using the arts as a vehicle to prompt the discussion on the future of our communities and what opportunities we have. Some examples for the heritage events that the arts agents do are really tying into the community local flavor. For example, on the left, this is the Community Arts Center in Whitley County, Kentucky, where they have touring exhibits that occur. They also offer pottery programs, and they have regional artists come in and provide concerts. This town, it's where I'm from, and it's a very small town. We have about 5,000 people in Williamsburg itself and about 38,000 in the whole county in Whitley County. And it's provided a venue where previously there wasn't a space in the community where you could have, the school principal and the mayor and the parents of children who've drawn a picture that we've hung on the wall all together in the same space to start talking about community and start experiencing opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have. In Greenup County, the Billy Williams Heritage Blues Festival, we've been tracking their economic impact, and they partner with the state park to highlight the blues heritage that's in that community. They have a very strong history in blues music, and they celebrate that. And they've had a $6,350 economic impact just last year on coordinating and presenting this program. In Pike County, Kentucky, our extension agent, Stephanie Richards, her background is community theater. And her county really identified wanting to have a regional theater opportunity. So she launched the Artist Collaborative Theater, and it's in the community of Elkhorn City with a population of around 800 or 900 people. But they are the award-winningest regional theater in the state of Kentucky. And through her program, she does a lot of after-school opportunities, as well as engaging adults in the community who have never thought about performing arts to recruit them to come and participate in a program. Sometimes it'll start as in we need help with construction of our set. Who out there is a construction worker that would be willing to come and help us? And they get community and civic engagement that way. And then they manage to convince that construction worker, you'd be perfect for this role we have coming up. Why don't you try out? And through the process, they develop speaking skills for local residents, youth as well as adults, increase the sense of community pride. And in fact, there's students that participate in the after-school program. So far, 100% of the students have continued to some type of post-secondary education. They also have, some of the students have come in with a lower GPA, but they also provide tutoring and reading skills as well as the training in arts. And they now have an average of a 3.89 GPA participation of students in that program. They have a heavy emphasis on students who maybe have certain types of learning disabilities or students with autism. And it's just been amazing to see how participating in the arts has transformed a few students from being nonverbal to having verbal engagement, being able to run a light board through the whole program, as well as some of them are on stage actually doing speaking parts. And so they've really transformed the lives of these people in the community by having this arts opportunity. In Whitley County, the Extension Community Arts Center specializes on hosting touring exhibits as well as exhibits from local artists. The Kentucky Arts Council and the Kentucky Humanities Council have been great partners in loaning exhibits to the Whitley County Community Arts Center to have an opportunity to showcase these. And these are programs that typically the residents would have to drive over an hour to experience for both adults and youth. So last year, over 5,000 residents attended an art exhibit or program in the Whitley Arts Center. They really have prided themselves on showcasing local artists who maybe have never thought to showcase their work or have never shown in their home county. Oh, I see a message that we've lost sound. Can everyone still hear us? Okay, perfect. It may just be an individual computer issue then. I just wanted to check. We had one artist that was exhibited at the Whitley County Arts Center who said, I've shown my work all over the state. I have sold a painting to the governor, but I've never gotten a show in my hometown where I've lived and grown up. And because of this location, I've finally gotten to engage my local residents and let them get to know me as an artist. He is actually a state trooper, and so it was a great opportunity for him to get to define himself as an artist in his own backyard. Another example of a great program that the arts agents coordinate is an Appalachian winter market. There's a real challenge in our rural downtowns on these initiatives to shop local. So how do we shop local if we don't have local storefronts in our downtowns? So an answer to that is the arts agents have started coordinating winter markets where they bring together all the artisans in the area and they present a winter market where these individuals get to sell to their local community. And these programs have grown each year, and it's starting to really create a valuable local economic impact for the individual artists to sell locally versus having to travel 2 or 3 hours to a trade show in a larger city, as well as giving people a reason to come out and populate the downtown on certain days to be able to shop and enjoy themselves. Some advantages of the community arts program that we've seen is this increase in community pride and self-worth. These are specifically our social advantages. We'll cover some of our numbers in a minute. And the artists and musicians are already in these communities. The arts program just coordinates and focuses and funnels these efforts into a cohesive program. And these arts agents aren't creating an art scene where there's never been one. There are so many arts in Eastern Kentucky, and it's such a vibrant region. There's just a lot of people who don't know that they're an amazing artist. They just say, oh, well, I just whittle here and there, or I just do some baskets. But they are really talented and some of the best at those heritage skills. And so we help encourage them and funnel those efforts and create a cohesive program. And also bringing those opportunities to the local community that families would otherwise have to travel 1 to 2 hours to get to experience. For our support structure, each agent has their own local Extension Advisory Arts Council. So it's 15 to 40 individuals in the community to really ensure that we're having that grassroots local direction that drives what the agent focuses on to address community needs. And then we also at the state level provide in-depth training and support for the agents through UK's Cooperative Extension. It's been a really exciting opportunity to be able to showcase how we can have arts and arts engagement through the College of Agriculture and have it be a successful program that really, really taps into a different audience for Extension.
All right.
And I'm going to turn over to Sky now.
Hello there, this is Sky, and what I'm going to be talking about is this new transition we've been through where we've had all of this great work that's very community focused, and I've recently come in under a new position, and really the goal of my position is to take a more regional approach, which has sort of two facets of it. One, when you take a regional approach, rather than being quite as responsive, it takes a little bit more of a strategic approach because you have to be able to serve a variety of diverse communities. And the other piece behind my new role is to really think across counties and across communities. So how can we connect all these different great communities that have fantastic things going on and really build something that feels more cohesive towards a region? In this case, the region that I'm over is what we often think of as the promise zone of Eastern Kentucky. So I'm over 12 counties. A lot of them are the coal-producing counties of Eastern Kentucky. So the other piece that's interesting about this approach is the particular region that I'm working with is facing a lot of economic transition right now. And so in particular, I'm thinking about how do we promote a region where there's a lot of economic hardship going on at the moment and build the arts economy in a place where we really need all the economic building we can get. So 3 goal areas that come up for this regional approach that really map onto what Melissa was just talking about is first, really enhancing the creative economy, promoting that arts engagement and excellence, and improving the quality of life through civic engagement and relevance. And I'm going to talk about each one of these a little bit more. So if we're thinking about the creative economy, just to build from what Melissa just said, what we find, even in the most rural, smallest communities in Eastern Kentucky, there's actually already quite a lot of vibrant art going on. There's artists, there are people designing and printing locally their own shirts, we have stores, we have Civil War reenactments, we have all number of festivals, music festivals, community festivals, local festivals, we have a number of arts groups that put on plays. So really, it's not a lack of having economic potential there, because the arts are already in place. So what we find a lot is it's letting people know this big challenge that there are in fact great festivals, that there are restaurants and places where you can partake in the traditional foodways. And Melissa was talking about the farmers markets. So many of the farmers markets across Eastern Kentucky feature people fixing food that you can go and buy that's often using traditional, perhaps, ingredients such as sorghum. They make sorghum cookies. But perhaps other people out there don't know that they could go to the Clay County Farmers Market and have some locally produced meat and have some sorghum cookies or whatever it might be. So in Eastern Kentucky particularly, we see this challenge of marketing. We don't necessarily have a robust tourism industry already in place, so a lot of it's about getting the word out. What we hear a lot from local communities is that they have this and they want people to know about it. So you see here one of our first posters. I've been in my position for just over 2 months, literally 2 months and 1 week at this point. Big focus already on just letting people know, okay, on these dates, you can actually go and you can go to this community folk dance. You can hear this particular type of music. You can go and enjoy this type of food, and getting the word out there to people in a variety of methods. What we think of with arts engagement is, first and foremost, we're building an awareness of what is already happening. We want to help people create these new opportunities, and we want to promote that pride in place and self. And a big trick behind this is thinking about what we're doing for our local community versus a huge piece of the arts economy in a lot of places is actually supporting the tourism industry. So how do we get people from within but beyond Eastern Kentucky as well to be aware of what's going on? And of course, when we have people from other places traveling to Eastern Kentucky to participate in programs, that also helps build that pride and that identity in where people are from and the goodness and the worthiness of the crafts that they're making, and increases all of our marketing opportunities. But of course, a lot of times there's a tension in communities about what are we doing for ourselves versus what are we doing for the world. In purely creating new opportunities for the community, we're focusing on the same sorts of things that were for individual communities, such as pottery and social art nights, but trying to take an approach to making these programs that are scalable and can be used in other places. So if we recently did an open mic poetry night in a very rural part of Harlan County. Well, we want to take our lessons learned from that and make something that could be used in other parts of Eastern Kentucky. We just piloted yesterday an arts program for very young children. Our youngest participant was 7 months old. We had a lot of 2-year-olds at it. But we're trying to think, okay, if these are young children and they really need enrichment, how can we create opportunities for this particular community, but something that any sort of extension agent anywhere can just roll out in a school or in the extension office or wherever it might be. A big piece behind this, of course, is improving the quality of life. You know, in a community where families can come together with their young children and do art projects together, that's social connectedness. That's great. We're also, of course, working on tourism. You know, if people hear about all these great festivals, they're far more likely to come down and visit. If there's not enough infrastructure already in place to draw tourists, it might be that if they hear about these great festivals, they'll come on down. But another piece that's come behind this is this idea of attracting industry, because over and over again, we hear from local communities, a potential manufacturer comes in and they're not necessarily sure if the quality of life is high enough in parts of Eastern Kentucky for them to live. Well, if they can show them, look at all these events going on around us, they're far more likely to bring some of that in as well. So one quick example of something that's been going on is murals, because, you know, downtowns that have taken some of the spaces that were, you know, maybe previously had graffiti on them and add something like a mural, that beautifies the downtown. It gets people more involved. It takes a previously unusable space and maybe makes it a community-based space. We've been working on this specifically in Corbin, where we took a public space and created a contest, which was a very interesting approach because it allowed local artists to come up with their own ideas for how we might represent the community or beautify the community. We're about to announce the winners of this particular mural contest, and then this is a place where a mural will be painted on a prominent underpass in the spring. Murals, however, are wanted across Eastern Kentucky. We found a lot of downtowns are looking for murals. And we find that murals are this place where people can express pieces of their heritage or identity and makes the place easier and nicer to visit. It creates money for a local artist to paint. And you can see here a couple of examples of murals that are up across Eastern Kentucky. One was a community one. You can see in the bottom right there that students came together to paint that. And this is just a small piece of how we can think about arts making a community more attractive. So what we're going to transition to is what is next.
We want to share with you some of our impacts that we've had through the 2016 year in some of our initiatives. For example, we've had, through our extension reporting system, it's been really useful because we feel like we're in a unique position with our strong data collection that we do through extension already to be able to start collecting some numbers and some impacts that have occurred through arts extension to also share with other states on how the arts really do engage our citizens across the state. So we've had these reported numbers, 10,301 individuals who have participated in creative placemaking initiatives through arts extension. And at this level, we also focus on, while we do have arts-specific counties that have an agent completely dedicated to the arts, we also have agents from all program areas from all across the state who are, because they're engaged in their community development, are engaged in some level in the arts. And so we try to give them that state level support and structure as well. We've also had 3,758 youth participate in state level place-based art making workshops like we showcased before, and 122,464 individuals who participated in the statewide arts engagement opportunity through extension. And we identify these as individuals who have been given a quality arts experience. This is a little more than just, maybe they've attended something or they took a field trip somewhere, but how do we make that a deeper arts engagement? For our numbers for supporting the creative economy, we had 108 artisan or farming vendors attend our extension trainings on marketing and booth design. And this translates to direct dollars in their pockets because they're learning how to sell their product on a much better level. And we had 2,063 artisans participate in an e-commerce training to help support them on how to sell on the web and how to get their name out there.
All right, so if we're thinking about what are some principles or takeaways for doing arts extension, either at a local level or at a regional level, what are some ways to engage? These are three that Melissa and I work together to distill. This first piece of focusing on the local strengths. One of the really great things in Eastern Kentucky, for example, is that by focusing on arts, rather than thinking about problems or poverty levels, we're really thinking about what is already in place in the community that makes it so vibrant and really exemplifies the culture and the heritage. And in Eastern Kentucky, there's absolutely a very strong traditional foodways, dance traditions, music traditions, and this is a way that we can amplify what's already there and already in place. But we also want to meet the express needs of community members. So for example, I talked about how yesterday we piloted an early childhood arts engagement program. Well, it happens that in Eastern Kentucky, because of the way our population works, there are very limited opportunities for young children, and especially those who are younger than 3. We just don't have the population numbers to support center-based programs like Early Head Start that you might find in other communities. So one thing we hear over and over again from communities is this need for something for families with young children to do, to bring them together, and so they're not just off and isolated in their homes. We also have a lot of need for marketing materials here in Eastern Kentucky. Again, we don't have a large tourism-based industry, but what we hear over and over and over again from local leaders is, we have great things going on, we just need to get the word out, we need to get people here. And in fact, by taking a regional approach and helping people see how you could go across counties in Eastern Kentucky to have perhaps maybe now that it's fall, a leaf peeping experience, and also stop in and go shopping these places or eat these places. There isn't necessarily that awareness of those opportunities out there. So what we're focusing on, if the need is marketing, we are going to do marketing. So whatever it happens to be in your particular community, really understanding what that is and being responsive to it. And the last piece behind that is the always important need to be a cheerleader. today's world is very dynamic. So not only are we trying to meet the needs of youth and young children right where they are, we're needing to be responsive to the way that e-commerce has changed, that digital media has changed. We've launched a Facebook site because social media is such an important piece of promoting and getting the word out. And we're in a world where we no longer can put something on a web page and think we've now talked about it. It's this constant cycle of letting people know what's going on, what are the strengths, how can we connect people, and it's by this sort of constant touch points that people have started to make connections across the region, and that we're able to highlight over and over again what are the strengths of these particular communities. And it happens that, you know, this fits very nicely with arts and with skills in graphic design or these other pieces, that it's a natural entry point for where arts can come to amplify all the strengths and good things, be it in agriculture or whatever, of a particular county or community or region.
That wraps up our presentation. We just want to open it up to questions. If anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to type them in the chat box, and we will do our best to answer as best we can. All right, we have a question on how do you know or measure if your Facebook page is successful?
Well, the great thing about a Facebook page is that Facebook gives us fantastic analytics, right? So, for example, we had a post where I shared that poster that was the fall arts events in Eastern Kentucky. It's a post that had over 100 shares. It had more than 11,000 views. You can track numbers like that to say, okay, well, if 11,000 people viewed this particular post or all these people chose to share it, that gives us some information. Some of the most successful posts we've had to date have been little videos that have highlighted what are some reasons to visit particular communities. And those often have a lot of local shares. So the other piece behind it, of course, is you can look and see where people are looking at your Facebook page, what locations. So I also consider it a success when people who do not live in Eastern Kentucky are noticing or sharing or liking or commenting on a post about an event that goes on in Eastern Kentucky, because that's a sign that we're starting to put that in their head of potential tourism or potential visiting.
We have a question on how do you get over the naysayers, the old men who sit at the gas stations? Honestly, you know, we've done a lot of engaging directly with them. I feel like one of the most successful activities I had is we had an event where we were using artistic expression, using poetry and watercolors to guide a community conversation with a county's extension council that had, you know, there were 6 male farmers over the age of 60, and people typically think that that would be the hardest demographic to tap into, as well as some youth representation, some 4-H representation, and just a variety of individuals. And I can't tell you how amazing it was that all 6 of those farmers engaged in the poetry process. They also engaged in the watercolor process, just because the way that we present it is not on this high level of artistic realm. We say, instead of saying necessarily, now it's time for a poetry exercise, because I'll be honest, I would probably feel embarrassed to participate if someone told me I'm about to write a poem. But what we say is, you know, we really want to learn more about your county and how you feel about your county. So here's a template for how to just think about some things that are important. What are the sights and sounds and smells, and write them down. And through that, we've really been able to engage these individuals and help them see the value of this program. And as far as city leaders, through mayors and judge executives, there's some counties that are really excited about this, and some who are a little resistant at first. But by continually inviting them to these opportunities, we start to transform their thinking to help them see the value of this program.
And I would just add to that what you hear over and over again, even from the biggest curmudgeon who's just focusing on economic development, is that when they're trying to bring in new industries, or when a hospital is bringing in new doctors to try to lure them to the community, over and over again, they're looking at quality of life indicators. And if you can give them something very clear to share, to say, hey, look, we have these music festivals, we have these restaurants, we have these things going on. This is actually an asset that those people need in their back pocket to share about as well. So I'd say even people super focused explicitly only on high level, we need to bring in 100 jobs, can in the end understand the value of creating a very livable place with a high quality of life. And I saw that there's a question about our Facebook page. You can look for it. It's called Eastern Kentucky Arts Network. And I see
Here,
if I can,
I'm typing it in right now to the chat window from my computer, so that way we'll be able to share it with you. I'm also going to share the individual pages of our county-based agents, so if you'd like to check those out, you're welcome to do so as well.
Sky and Melissa, we also had another question through the Q&A button where someone asked if you had any online training or resources pertaining to marketing that you'd like to share with everyone.
that is very much the kind of thing that's in the works. Melissa can tell you what we already have.
That's one thing that our CEDIC, which is the department we fall under, it's our Community Economic Development Initiative of Kentucky, and we are the community development branch in our College of Agriculture. We do not have CED agents in our state, but we do have our arts agents. And we've been spending the past couple months really developing and creating these resources, because that was one of the limitations of our arts program, is that the people doing the arts programming were so busy doing the programming that we didn't have the typical publications and curriculum resources that other program areas have had. So we have worked with our agents and our communities to identify lists like that, and your specific one you've asked for is one of them. And we are really excited that we had a new dean in our College of Fine Arts at the state level who worked with Extension in his previous post. So we are partnering over the next year with some faculty in the Arts College of Fine Arts to really create these research-based resources that we can use. But we do have some resources. What I do have, if it's okay if I send to Catherine, and then Catherine, if you wanted to send it out to everyone that attended, we could do that and share those resources with you.
Yeah, that would be good. We can definitely do that.
And that goes back to, it looks like somebody asked about the poetry template as well. And we're working on.
I do have that in the document.
Okay.
To share.
So Melissa has some of that in it already that we can share. And some of these are pieces that, we're piloting now, and we're hoping to create more usable, anyone can take it. This is a major focus of what we're working on, and on taking this approach, is to say, okay, well, what is something we can take that then is best practices? I've been working with a young woman on coming up with a document about how do you revive a pottery studio that's no longer being used. That's the kind of work we're hoping that in a year from now we'll be able to share a lot more concrete resources.
Do we have any other questions?
Okay, we'll let everyone type in their last minute questions if they have them, but I just wanted to come on and say thank you, Sky and Melissa, for a really great presentation. We really appreciate you doing that. Again, this recording will be posted on the SRDC website, which I put in the chat box. You just might have to scroll up a little bit. And then hopefully Melissa and Sky will send me some of those resources, and I can share them with everyone who attended and possibly put them on our Facebook page. So if you have any last minute questions, go ahead and write them. We'll give you guys a few minutes.
And I've sent all the links that we have in the chat box, so you all can just click on it, follow those. And if you see a program that one of the counties have focused on and you'd like to just send me an email, I'll be happy to put my email right here. And you all can email me and I can connect you with those resources as well.
Okay, if anyone has a last minute question, go ahead and put it in now. All right, I think that is all the questions that we have for today. So again, thank you, Melissa and Sky, for a really great presentation. And thank you everyone who attended for joining us. Again, this is the Southern Rural Development Center CRD webinar series, and we will be having another next month, then you can go to our webpage that I posted in the chat box and learn about all of our previous webinars and upcoming webinars, as well as view this recording. Any closing statements, Sky and Melissa?
I think we're good. Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, everyone.